to this. So this one is called Sam's Tech Talk. So Sam has completed a research essay that she was also asked to give a recorded 10-minute presentation on. She hates giving presentations. Some people do. I totally get it. Especially hates the sound of her recorded voice. She writes her own script and uses generative AI to create the presentation. So it's her script, but generative AI to create the presentation. So the AI reads the script out loud. And since AI voiceovers are so much better now, she uses the voiceover to over the slides instead of her own voice, but also uses the generative AI to create the slides. So Sam edits the slides a little bit, but figures that since they're generated from her script, this use of AI is fine. And since the AI is reading her words, it's the same as doing it herself. So starting from this kind of scenario, is this an issue? And so what we normally do now is we will present this slide. And people can. So did Sam do the right thing? And you can join by clicking the link, or you can add that number at the top, the Menti code, and then we'll start seeing people's responses pop up. Did Sam do the right thing? Yes, because she wrote the script. The second answer is only generating the PowerPoints was wrong. Then no, because she should have checked with her instructor. And last, not really, but everyone else is doing it. So everyone can see these responses going up and down. All right. We seem, I'm not going to call it consensus, but we've got some we've got a trend. We've got a trend here. So we are going to go to our invited expert guests, and I will stop sharing. Let's hear from Dr. George.
Well, it's an interesting scenario for sure. As a technologist, this type of AI assistive tool is, you know, it's useful, it's valuable, it's good assistive technology, especially if you have issues around presentations. And I think it's sort of empowering to be able to use it. But I have reservations about whether you should use it if this conflicts with the learning outcome of the course. So if part of the course is learning to present and learning presentation skills within the area of your discipline, then I would be a little bit concerned that this is perhaps not the most appropriate use. So I think the people that said check with your instructor, that might be fit right in there. Other than that, you know, this, I don't see really any problem with it, other than as a faculty member, I wouldn't know that Sam has done this and that it's her script unless she tells me about it. So unless she has said to me as her instructor that, or put in some written material as well as doing the presentation about how much of the work is her work, especially if she's not speaking it, I wouldn't know what portion of the work is her work versus what portion of the work belongs to the generative AI. So, you know, I think as a faculty member, I would need some sort of statement that clarifies which components are SAM's versus automatically created versus automatically created and then edited by SAM. So like it's quite complicated what information I'd need as a faculty member to know that it's okay. But I could see that there are some opportunities for using this tool to save time on something that isn't a fundamental learning outcome of the course itself. So yeah, you know, this one is not straightforward.
I will pass it to Eliana. Dr. Khoury. Dr. El Khoury, sorry.
Thank you. So I would like to agree with Dr. George that definitely the first thing that I'm going to think about is the learning outcomes. What do I expect the learners to know from this assignment, and why did I put it in that course? And based on that, I would be able to take a decision whether that's a good idea or not. But anyway, this is a one-on-one case, and I think depending on why did the student use it. So what I expect as an instructor is the student to contact me and let me know why and how they are using AI. So being aware of what the learning outcomes are, being aware of why they would like to use AI, whether for time saving or for equity reasons or for accessibility reasons. So let me know, let me be aware of what's happening, of what you learned and how did you learn it and how do you plan to apply it. And I think that it could be done on a one-on-one, one-by-one basis. And then as long as learning is happening and you are reaching your learning outcome, then why not? But always, also, I forgot, yes, always check with your instructor. So this is my personal opinion. It might not be another instructor's opinion. So that's what I'm saying. Please check with your instructor.
Of course, that's our refrain today, right? But we don't want to stop thinking there, right? We're thinking about these topics, so we will reiterate that, of course. Elaine or Sarah Jean?
Yeah, I'll jump in a little bit and just say that now I guess it's been a few months since I checked them out, but the last time I checked out an AI slide generator, it was very poorly done. So that's also something to keep in mind. You know, these tools are very exciting, but they're also not the best that they could be yet. So be aware of that the work that is generated may not be you know, up to the par that you want it to be for something that you're submitting. You know, when you're submitting a paper or presentation or any kind of academic work, and it's a type of publishing. You know, you're sending it for publication for a reader, for an audience, and that's your instructor or your professor. So you know, you want to make sure that it's your very best work. So that's something to keep in mind. And it's not just the slide generators, but, you know, also, for example, ChatGPT is not 100% accurate. It's only updated to 2021. And the information in it is going to have a bias based on the data that it's you know, was input into it. So those are just some things to keep in mind, that the tools can be useful in some ways, but they also might not be 100% accurate or doing the amazing work that you would like to send for publication.
So I have these two hands, but I'll just throw it to Elaine first, and then we'll go to Stella.
Yeah, thanks very much, Kristin. One of the things that I've been thinking about over the last while as we've been preparing for this is about that aspect of presentation. And, you know, giving a recorded presentation is very different than giving a live presentation. And in a previous job, I recorded and created tutorials that were made available on the library website. And when I first started recording my voice, I was appalled at how bad it was because I spoke too quickly. I started my sentences too quietly, or I trailed off at the end, or I moved my head away from the microphone, so then it only got part of the word. And so what I learned was that having that opportunity to practice in small chunks, practice one slide, and record it a few times, practice it so that you know exactly, and you listen back so that you know where those issues are. It helps you to get more comfortable with what you sound like, but it also helps to make sure that your presentation is as high a quality as it possibly can be. And so I was noticing Amanda's question in the or comment in the chat as well, and I thought that would be, it's something to think about. And there's lots of tools, you know, quick and free tools that you can use to practice that kind of thing. So, so I think that's an opportunity that's built into this particular scenario.
Stella?
I totally agree. And it was Amanda's comment that prompted me to put my hand up, because I think what we might find is, well, I think you might find already, if you start to look at learning outcomes for programs as well as for courses, that actually presentation skills is already part of what students are expected to be able to do, and that it's a safe environment, largely the academic environment in which to practice those skills. So, you know, we're slowly evolving where we want to put the guidelines on this. And I think that it's quite possible that instructors will start to make those skills a fundamental part of what all courses that cover that include them. So I think that, you know, in order to use that sort of technology, you may have to have some sort of formal accommodation in order to make it an option, versus I just don't like doing this and I would prefer not to, when it's a skill that we really do want you to learn. So I think that it's more of a learning outcome embedded in what we do currently than we might think it is.
Sure, go ahead.
Can I add one last thing? And I want to talk about English language learners or monthly language learners, because I am one of them. And I know it's a bit hard to put your voice out there, and it's a learning curve, but when you do it, it's worth it. And trust me, you're here to learn, and we really want to give you that opportunity. So whenever you have the chance to learn to do these presentation skills, I would advise that you do it. Of course, as I mentioned before, if you need to record it and you feel that you have a compelling case, feel free to reach out to your instructor. But if you have this opportunity to practice in a safe space, just go for it.
Thanks. I was thinking too about how, like, your instructor would receive this assignment, and you know, understanding that in this scenario, the person did not get, permission to use these tools in advance. So we're already working in a bit of a compromised situation. I was thinking about how the instructor would probably know from the voice that it is not human generated. I'm just guessing. And then also, I want to say something about presentation slides, because it's an outcome itself about how slides relate to what you're saying, and are they to like sort of generate interest, or are they bullet points? You know, if your slides just reiterate your script, that's not really demonstrating like a sort of skill of summary or synthesis or something like that. So you know, we really want to learn through our assignments specific ways of schematizing information. And I was thinking about how it's very, very, very unlikely that if we find ourselves in the workplace, we're going to be able to submit a presentation that's read by AI and that has slides generated by AI, right? We're going to want to be giving that, and normally we would be taking questions, but at Athabasca, with our asynchronous learning model, we often have these kind of recorded submissions, and that might also happen in a workplace too. But you know, we're moving those skills around. So we could move to the next scenario, unless there are sort of final thoughts. And we've got more. We'll touch on all these topics as we keep going.
I just want to quickly point out a couple of interesting points that came up in the chat. We don't need to discuss them in depth, but Tara mentioned accessibility reasons. If a person is unable to speak, this technology would allow them to give the presentation. And then a few people mentioned, and this may have come up in the discussion, but a few people mentioned you know, the spontaneous aspect of a presentation, being able to answer a question. And so that might need to be taken into consideration as well.